An old injury from my college soccer days that had finally caught up with me, the dull ache turning into a grinding pain I couldn't ignore anymore. The surgery had been scheduled for months. I knew recovery would be brutal. What I didn't know was that Liam had been waiting for me to be out of commission. The anesthesia left me floating somewhere between awake and nowhere. The hospital room was sterile white and too quiet. My mom sat beside me, her hand wrapped around mine, her face lined with worry. Liam had kissed my forehead before surgery, quick, distracted. "I'll come back tonight," he said. "Work deadline." I was too groggy to argue. That first evening blurred into medication and drifting sleep. My mom held my phone, replying to messages from friends. Around 8 p.m., it buzzed again. "Oh, it's Liam," she said gently. I only heard her side of the conversation. "Yes, she's okay, just resting." "You're at the apartment? That's good." "Oh, Netflix code? Let me check." I remember trying to focus through the fog. "Netflix code? Why?" A 6-digit verification popped up on my phone. My mom read it aloud. "Okay, honey, have a quiet night." Quiet. I told myself I was overthinking. He was probably lonely. Probably just watching something. The next day, the pain sharpened, but the anesthesia haze lifted. A new nurse came in to check my vitals. "Abby," she said with a small smile. "Long time." It was Becca Morales, Daniel's younger sister. I'd known her since she was a teenager, following her brother around. We chatted. She adjusted my IV, asked about the surgery. Then she hesitated at the door. "Abby, this might not be my place, but if Daniel were in here, I'd want someone to show him." She walked back to my bed and turned her phone toward me. Instagram. Liam's story. The first clip was my living room, but it wasn't quiet. There were at least 15 people crammed into my space, pizza boxes stacked on my coffee table, beer bottles lined up along my kitchen counter. My beer. They were screaming at my television. The next clip was a selfie. Liam grinning wide, drink in hand. Tagged friends everywhere. Caption. "Holding down the fort while the old lady's out of commission. Season finale party. Winking emoji." Old lady. I am 34. The final clip was chaos. Music blasting. Someone dancing on my rug. And in the background I saw it. My father's framed photo tipping sideways as one of his friends stumbled into the bookshelf. The glass cracked. I felt something inside me go very still. The surgical pain in my knee disappeared beneath something colder. I was lying in a hospital bed, vulnerable, trusting him with my home, my space, the place that still smelled faintly like my dad's cologne some days. And he had turned it into a bar. "Thank you," I whispered to Becca. She squeezed my hand. "I'm sorry." After she left, I stared at the ceiling. Then I reached for my phone. Netflix account settings. Sign out of all devices. Streaming services logged out. Wi-Fi app, password changed. Then I made a call. Not to Liam. Not to my mom. I called Daniel Brooks, my best friend since kindergarten. "Hey," I said quietly. He heard it in my voice immediately. "What happened?" I told him. Silence. Then a slow exhale of fury. "I never trusted him, Abby," he said. "Tell me what you need." "I need you to go to my apartment tomorrow," I said. "After he leaves. Talk to the superintendent. Take pictures." My discharge was scheduled in 48 hours. That gave me time. Time to think. Time to prepare. Time to remind Liam Carter that I might be on crutches. But I was not out of commission. The next 24 hours were strangely clarifying. While my knee throbbed beneath layers of bandages and ice packs, my mind sharpened into something precise and deliberate. Pain I could manage. Betrayal required strategy. Daniel went to my building the following afternoon, exactly as I asked. He called me the moment he got there. "The superintendent already looks irritated," he muttered. Apparently there were noise complaints. Noise complaints. While I was hooked up to monitors and IV drips, Mr. Henderson, the superintendent, confirmed 2 separate complaints from my next-door neighbor. The night of Liam's little season finale. Daniel couldn't legally enter my apartment with him, but Mr. Henderson walked him down the hall. There were garbage bags outside my door, stuffed with pizza boxes, beer bottles clinking inside. The hallway still smelled like stale alcohol. Daniel had his own spare key, one I'd given him years ago for emergencies. He waited until Liam's car was gone from the parking garage, then let himself in. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. Photo after photo loaded on my screen. Sticky rings stained my wooden coffee table. Someone had spilled something dark red across my favorite armchair, soaking into the fabric like a bruise. My father's framed photo sat back on the shelf, but the glass was cracked in a spiderweb pattern. The kitchen sink overflowed with dishes. Empty bottles crowded every surface. It didn't look like a home. It looked like a venue. I felt my jaw tighten, but my voice stayed calm when Daniel called again. "Get everything," I said, "every angle." I've got you, he replied. Meanwhile, Liam was texting me. Morning, beautiful. How's the pain today? Thinking about you. The apartment feels so empty without you. Empty. I stared at the message long enough that the nurse thought something was wrong. Everything okay? She asked gently. Yes, I said. Better than okay. I replied with one word. Thanks. Later. Feeling better. Short. Neutral. Nothing that would make him suspicious. I wanted him comfortable. Comfortable people don't prepare for impact. That evening, as the hospital room dimmed into that artificial twilight glow, I logged into my bank account. And there it was, a charge from a local pizza place. $3.25 un 47 centi. Dated the night of the party. The debit card linked to my checking account, the one I'd let Liam use for groceries and shared household expenses, had paid for his little event. He hadn't just used my home. He had used my money. I stared at the number until the screen blurred. This wasn't immaturity. This wasn't thoughtlessness. This was entitlement. A cold, final clarity settled into me. Any lingering thought of a conversation, of working through it, evaporated. The next morning was my discharge day. My mom arrived with flowers. Daniel followed behind her. Are we calling Liam to let him know we're on the way home? My mom asked, as Daniel carefully helped me into the car. I adjusted the brace on my knee. No, I said. I want to surprise him. Instead of heading straight home, I had Daniel stop in front of a locksmith shop. I hobbled inside on my crutches, each step measured and steady. I need a high-security deadbolt, I told the man behind the counter. 20 minutes later, we were back at my apartment. My mom waited in the living room while Daniel and I got to work. Drill. Metal grinding. The old lock fell away in pieces. The new one slid into place with a heavy, satisfying click. The old keys were now just decorative scraps of metal. We cleaned what we could, opened windows, sprayed disinfectant, stacked the worst of the damage into piles. Daniel packed Liam's essentials into boxes, clothes, toiletries, random clutter from his side of the closet. By 6:30 p.m., I was sitting on my couch with my crutches leaning against the coffee table when I heard it. A key scraping against the new lock. Pause. Another scrape. Then a frustrated sigh. A moment later, my phone lit up. Liam. I let it ring. It stopped. Then a text. Abby, my key isn't working. Is something wrong with the door? I waited a full minute before replying. I'm home. The door is fine. I'll let you in. I stood carefully, Daniel stepping back, but staying close. I opened the door. Liam stood there with shopping bags hanging from his arms, irritation written across his face. Finally, he said, what's wrong with the... His words died when he saw my expression. Cold. Steady. Unmoved. Your key doesn't work, I said quietly. Because you don't live here anymore. He blinked at me like I'd spoken another language. What are you talking about? Liam laughed, but it sounded thin. Abby, don't be dramatic. Just let me in. He shifted forward like he expected me to step aside. I didn't. Daniel took one subtle step behind me. Not aggressive, just present. I know about the party, I said. His face changed. Not fully, just a flicker. A calculation. What party? He replied too quickly. Oh, that? Babe, it was just a few friends watching the finale. You're seriously overreacting. A few friends. I lifted my phone and turned the screen toward him. The first screenshot, my living room packed wall to wall with people. The second, his grinning selfie, old lady out of commission. The third, the red stain bleeding across my armchair. The fourth, my father's cracked photo frame. His mouth opened. Closed. It wasn't that bad, he said finally. We were going to clean it up. We? I asked softly. His eyes darted to Daniel and back to me. I mean, I was. I swiped to the final image. The bank statement. Tres, Simti. $2.25 un 47 centi. You used my debit card, I said. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. You used my money to throw a party in my home while I was in surgery. He swallowed. It's not like that, he said quickly. You always said what's yours is mine. You thought wrong. Silence filled the hallway between us. The shopping bag slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a dull thud. You can't just lock me out, he said, panic creeping into his voice. I live here. No, I replied, you stayed here. There's a difference. Daniel gestured toward the stacked boxes by the entryway. Your essentials, I said. Clothes, toiletries, laptop charger. The rest can be arranged later, through Daniel. You're insane, Liam snapped, the mask cracking. You're throwing away 18 months over a stupid party? No, I said. I'm ending 18 months of slowly ignoring red flags. His jaw tightened. You're acting like a victim. I almost laughed at that. I was in a hospital bed, I said quietly, and you were posting captions about me being an old lady out of commission. His face flushed. It was a joke. No, I said. It was a test. He frowned. A test? To see how much disrespect I'd tolerate. He stepped forward again, lowering his voice. Abby, come on, we can talk about this inside. There is no inside for you anymore. He stared at me, searching for softness, for hesitation, for the version of me that would cave just to avoid conflict. He didn't find her. Where am I supposed to go? He asked finally. You should have thought about that, I replied, before you treated my home like a venue and my trust like it was disposable. For a second, something almost human flickered in his expression. Then it hardened. You're going to regret this, he said. Maybe, I answered calmly, but I won't regret respecting myself. I stepped back. Take your boxes. He didn't move. Daniel's voice cut through the silence. Liam, just his name. Firm. Enough. Liam grabbed the boxes, his movements jerky and angry. He didn't look at me again as he walked down the hallway. The elevator doors closed with a quiet metallic slide. And just like that, it was done. I closed the door, locked it, turned the deadbolt. The sound was small, but it felt seismic. My knee throbbed. My arms shook slightly from standing too long. Daniel placed a steadying hand on my shoulder. You okay? He asked. I looked around my apartment. It was still messy. Still smelled faintly of beer and cleaning spray. But it was quiet. Mine. I will be, I said. That night, I slept without medication for the first time since surgery. Not because I wasn't in pain, but because something heavier than pain had been removed. I didn't know yet that the party wasn't the worst part. That discovery came 3 days later. 3 days later, the phone call came. Not from Liam, from his father. His name flashed across my screen just after noon, while I was icing my knee and answering work emails from my couch. I let it ring once, twice. Then I answered. What exactly do you think you're doing? His father barked before I could speak. No greeting, no courtesy, just fury. I'm not sure what you mean, I replied evenly. You threw my son out while he had nowhere to go. Abigail, that's cruel. He said you blindsided him. Blindsided? I leaned back slowly against the couch cushions. Sir, I said calmly, before we continue this conversation, I'm going to email you something. Please look at it. Then we can finish. There was grumbling on the other end, but he didn't hang up. I forwarded everything. The Instagram screenshots. The damage photos Daniel took. The $312.47 charge. The noise complaint note from my neighbor. Then I returned to the call. There was silence. Not the angry kind. The absorbing kind. A long exhale. I see, he muttered. Yes, I said softly. You do. He cleared his throat. That's not what Liam told us. I'm sure it isn't. Another pause. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Quieter. Heavier. He said a few friends stopped by to keep him company while you were recovering. I let that hang in the air. Does that look like a few friends? No, I heard him sigh. I'll speak to him. You don't need to, I said. This isn't about discipline, it's about consequences. 2 days later, he called again. This time he apologized. Said they were deeply disappointed. Said they hadn't raised him that way. I thanked him for calling, but I didn't soften, because accountability wasn't repair. Meanwhile, Liam tried a different approach. His friends started posting vague statuses online. Some people can't handle a strong man having fun. Funny how victims love attention. They never mentioned my name. They didn't need to. It was obvious. For about 12 hours. Then Becca commented. Just one sentence. There's always more to the story. Daniel's wife added, throwing a party while your girlfriend is in surgery isn't strength. The post disappeared the next morning. Funny how quickly narratives collapse when facts exist. That weekend, Daniel came over to help finish cleaning. We were going through the bedroom drawers when I found it, tucked in the back of Liam's bedside table. A birthday card. Not mine. The handwriting was loopy and intimate. Last month was wild. Still smiling about that weekend. Can't wait for the next one. Signed with a woman's name I didn't recognize. Dated 3 weeks before my surgery. My stomach didn't drop. It didn't twist. It just went still. The party hadn't been a one-time lapse. It was a pattern. He hadn't been bored. He had been comfortable. Comfortable using my apartment as a base. Comfortable knowing I trusted him. Comfortable assuming I wouldn't leave. I handed the card to Daniel. He read it once and shook his head. You dodged more than you know. I nodded. I think I did. The next morning, I typed up an itemized invoice. Party food, $312.47. New armchair, $420. Locksmith and deadbolt, $138. Replacement frame and glass, $62. Total, $932.47. I printed it. Attached copies of the receipts. Included a short note. Payment due within 30 days. Otherwise, I will file in small claims court. All documentation is prepared. I sent it certified mail to his parents' address. 2 weeks later, a check arrived. Full amount. No message. No apology. Just money. And honestly, that was enough. It's been 2 months since I came home from the hospital to a wrecked apartment and a relationship that collapsed under its own entitlement. My knee is healing faster than expected. My physical therapist says reduced stress speeds recovery. I didn't tell her that sometimes healing isn't about muscle or bone. It's about boundaries. The apartment feels different now. Cleaner. Lighter. Not because the floors shine or the windows are open more often, but because nothing inside it feels borrowed anymore. My mom knows everything now. When I finally told her about the Netflix code, about the party, about the caption, her face crumpled. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I gave him that code." "It wasn't your fault," I told her. "You were being kind." Liam exploited kindness. That's on him. I heard updates through Daniel and Becca. After a tense month at his parents' house, Liam moved into a small apartment with 2 roommates. The influencer image he liked to project online faded quickly when he wasn't posing in my living room anymore. Apparently, hosting parties is less glamorous when you're splitting rent 3 ways and paying your own utilities. The friends from that night? Gone. It turns out people who cheer loudest in your living room don't stay when the couch disappears. Last weekend, I hosted something of my own. Not a party, just dinner. My mom, Daniel and his wife, Becca. I grilled steaks on the balcony while Daniel poured wine. We laughed about old memories, about kindergarten field trips, about how Becca used to follow Daniel around like a shadow. I sat in my new armchair, soft gray fabric, nothing like the old one. And I looked around. No sticky rings, no shouting, no cracked glass, just warmth. As they were leaving, my mom hugged me tightly. "I'm proud of you, Abigail," she said. "You stood up for yourself." I held her a little longer, because she was right. For a long time, I thought being patient meant being loving. I thought giving second chances meant being strong. But strength isn't absorbing disrespect until it stops hurting. Strength is locking the door when someone proves they don't deserve the key. Liam thought I was out of commission. An old lady sidelined, recovering. He mistook temporary vulnerability for permanent tolerance. He thought I'd limp back into normal. Smile. Forgive. Forget. But the only thing that went out of commission that week was the version of me who accepted less than I deserved. And she's not coming back. My name is Abigail Turner. I'm 34 years old, and this story starts in a hospital bed with a reconstructed knee and a boyfriend who thought I wouldn't notice. 2 days ago, I had full reconstruction surgery on my left knee. It was an old injury from my college soccer days that had finally caught up with me, the dull ache turning into a grinding pain I couldn't ignore anymore. The surgery had been scheduled for months. I knew recovery would be brutal. What I didn't know was that Liam had been waiting for me to be out of commission. The anesthesia left me floating somewhere between awake and nowhere. The hospital room was sterile white and too quiet. My mom sat beside me, her hand wrapped around mine, her face lined with worry. Liam had kissed my forehead before surgery. Quick, distracted. "I'll come back tonight," he said. "Work deadline." I was too groggy to argue. That first evening blurred into medication and drifting sleep. My mom held my phone, replying to messages from friends. Around 8 p.m., it buzzed again. "Oh, it's Liam," she said gently. I only heard her side of the conversation. "Yes, she's okay. Just resting. You're at the apartment? That's good." "Oh, Netflix code? Let me check." I remember trying to focus through the fog. "Netflix code? Why?" A 6-digit verification popped up on my phone. My mom read it aloud. "Okay, honey, have a quiet night." Quiet. I told myself I was overthinking. He was probably lonely, probably just watching something. The next day the pain sharpened, but the anesthesia haze lifted. A new nurse came in to check my vitals. "Abby?" she said with a small smile. "Long time." It was Becca Morales, Daniel's younger sister. I'd known her since she was a teenager following her brother around. We chatted, she adjusted my IV, asked about the surgery. Then she hesitated at the door. Abby, this might not be my place, but if Daniel were in here, I'd want someone to show him. She walked back to my bed and turned her phone toward me. Instagram. Liam's story. The first clip was my living room, but it wasn't quiet. There were at least 15 people crammed into my space, pizza boxes stacked on my coffee table, beer bottles lined up along my kitchen counter. My beer. They were screaming at my television. The next clip was a selfie. Liam grinning wide, drink in hand. Tagged friends everywhere. Caption. Holding down the fort while the old lady's out of commission. Season finale party. Winking emoji.